The Great Hall of the Galactic Council had stood for 12,000 years. Its walls were made of living crystal that hummed with ancient energy. Representatives from 47 starfaring species sat in floating chairs arranged in a massive circle. They had gathered to discuss trade routes and border disputes. The usual boring matters of galactic politics. High Arbiter Velcros called the meeting to order. He was an ancient being, his body made of shifting light contained within a humanoid shape. He had served the Council for 300 years and had seen many crises come and go. But today, his voice carried a note of concern that made the other representatives pay attention. "We have received troubling news from our scouts in the outer regions," Velcros announced. "The Cathari Dominion has mobilized their entire conquest fleet." A wave of fear passed through the chamber. The Cathari were the nightmare of the galaxy. They were insect-like creatures, 8 feet tall, covered in black armor that grew from their own bodies. They moved as one mind, thousands of warriors acting with perfect coordination. In 5,000 years, they had never lost a war. They had conquered 63 worlds and enslaved billions of beings. Ambassador, Therina of the Valori Republic, rose from her seat. Her skin glowed with soft blue light, a sign of her distress. "Which system do they target?" "We must warn them. We must prepare a defense." Velcros paused before answering. They moved toward a small system in Sector 7 Gamma, the third planet from its star. The locals call it Earth. Confused silence filled the chamber. Council members accessed their data archives, searching for information about this unknown world. Most found nothing. "Earth?" asked Councillor Drimmick of the Synthesis Collective. His mechanical body whirred as he processed the data. "I have no records of this civilization." "Are they members of the galactic community?" "No," Velcros replied. "They are uncontacted. They achieved space travel approximately 100 of their years ago. They have sent small machines to explore nearby planets and built a primitive station in orbit around their world. By our standards, they are children taking their first steps." "Then they are already dead," Therine said sadly. She settled back into her chair with a gesture of resignation. "The Cathari will harvest them within days. It is a tragedy, but we cannot risk our own forces to save a species that cannot save itself." Several representatives murmured in agreement. It was the practical view. The galaxy was vast and dangerous. Species rose and fell like waves upon a shore. One more extinction was sad, but not worth starting a war over. But Velcros raised his hand for silence. "Before we dismiss this matter, there is something you should know about these humans." "What could possibly matter?" asked Dreamok. "They have no fleet, no weapons capable of harming Cathari vessels, no experience with interstellar war. They will be conquered before they even understand what is happening." "Perhaps," Velcros admitted. "But our observation probes have monitored Earth for several generations. We began watching them when they first split the atom and created weapons capable of destroying their own cities. We wanted to determine if they were a threat to galactic peace." "And what did you find?" "They are the strangest species we have ever encountered." Velcros waved his hand, and a holographic image appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed a blue and green world, swirling with white clouds. Beautiful, but seemingly unremarkable. "Earth is a death world," Velcros explained. "Its environment would kill most sentient beings within hours. The temperature swings are extreme. The planet is geologically violent, with earthquakes and volcanic eruptions occurring constantly. The atmosphere contains a corrosive gas that the humans actually need to breathe. The gravity is so strong that the Valori could not walk there without mechanical assistance." "How did intelligent life evolve in such conditions?" Theron asked with genuine curiosity. "That is the remarkable part. The humans did not evolve despite their world trying to kill them. They evolved because of it. They are persistence predators." Several representatives made sounds of confusion. The concept was foreign to most species who had evolved on gentler worlds. On Earth, Velcros continued, the humans' ancestors hunted by chasing their prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. They could not run as fast as the animals they hunted. They could not bite or claw or fly, so they simply followed. For hours, for days, until their prey's heart gave out from the stress of being pursued by something that never, ever stopped. The chamber fell silent as the representatives processed this information. Their history is equally violent, Velcros added. They have fought thousands of wars among themselves. They have survived ice ages that covered half their planet. They have endured plagues that killed enormous portions of their population. And every time they have rebuilt. Every time they have come back stronger. Dremak's mechanical eyes flickered. This is interesting from an academic perspective, but it does not change the military reality. The Cathari have plasma weapons, faster than light travel, and millions of warriors. The humans have chemical rockets and nuclear bombs. The outcome is not in doubt. I agree the outcome seems certain, Velcro said, but I recommend we observe this encounter carefully. There may be more to learn from humanity's final hours than we expect. What could we possibly learn from watching a primitive species die? Therian asked. Velcros turned to face her directly. I have watched these humans for many years, Ambassador. I have seen them do impossible things. They have walked on their moon using technology less advanced than what we use to open doors. They have cured diseases that should have killed them. They have built machines that can think. And they have done all of this while constantly fighting among themselves. He paused, letting his words sink in. Imagine what they might accomplish if they had a common enemy. Imagine what a species of persistent predators might do when something threatens their entire world. The Cathari are powerful, yes. But they have always fought species that knew when to surrender. Species that calculated the odds and accepted defeat when victory seemed impossible. And you believe the humans will not surrender? I believe the humans do not know how to surrender. It is not in their nature. When they are cornered, they do not submit. They become more dangerous. The Council voted to establish observation satellites around the Sol system. Most representatives expected to witness a quick conquest, perhaps with some brief resistance that would make for interesting historical footage. The Cathari fleet, consisting of over 800 warships and 3 million warriors, would arrive at Earth in 14 standard cycles. On Earth, humanity went about its daily business. People went to work, children went to school, and lovers walked together under evening stars. They had no idea that they had been noticed by the wider galaxy. They did not know that death was coming for them across the void of space, but they would learn soon. And when they did, they would prove that High Arbiter Velcros had understood them better than anyone in the galaxy suspected. The humans were about to show the universe what happened when you threatened the children of a death world. The Cathari thought they were going to harvest an easy victory. They were wrong, Commander. Nathan Cole was drinking his morning coffee aboard the International Space Station when the alarms started screaming. He pushed himself toward the observation window, and what he saw made him drop his cup. The brown liquid floated away in small globes as he stared at the impossible sight before him. Space was tearing open. Massive ships poured through holes in reality, each one larger than any structure humans had ever built. They were black and organic-looking, covered in spines and strange symbols. Hundreds of them filled the space around Earth, blocking out the stars. Houston, Nathan said into his radio, his voice surprisingly calm. We have a situation. Unknown vessels have appeared in Earth's orbit. I count over 800 of them. The next 2 days were chaos unlike anything in human history. Every television channel, every radio station, every website showed the same images. Alien ships surrounded Earth. Military forces around the world went to highest alert. People flooded churches, temples, and mosques. Others filled the streets in panic. Then the message came. The aliens broadcast on every frequency. Their voices were harsh and clicking, translated through some unknown technology into every human language. We are the Cathari Dominion. Your world is now claimed. You will surrender unconditionally within 72 hours. Resistance will result in the complete destruction of your species. This is not negotiable. At the Pentagon, General Lisa Brennan gathered military leaders from around the world. The old rivalries between nations suddenly seemed foolish when facing extinction. Russian generals sat beside American ones. Chinese admirals shared data with their Japanese counterparts. The entire world was working together for the first time in history. Give me options, General Brennan demanded. She was a small woman with gray hair and hard eyes. She had served in 3 wars and had never backed down from a fight. Admiral Christopher St. Webb spread satellite photos across the table. Their ships are positioned in a sphere around the planet. We have identified what appears to be a command vessel larger than the others. Initial estimates suggest each of their warships outguns our entire combined fleet. So we cannot win in space, Brennan said. It was not a question. It's not with conventional tactics. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. Dr. Samuel Grant, a physicist from MIT who had been studying the alien transmissions, raised his hand. He looked like he had not slept since the ships appeared. General, may I offer some observations? Go ahead, Doctor. Their weapons appear to be energy-based. Plasma, directed energy, that sort of thing. Their defensive systems are shields, not armor. This makes sense when fighting other advanced species. Energy weapons fire in straight lines and can be deflected by shields. And this helps us how? Grant almost smiled. We do not use energy weapons. We use missiles. Nuclear missiles. Thousands of them. Our weapons are slower, yes. They fly in curves, not straight lines. And they do not care how strong a shield is if enough of them hit at once. General Brennan leaned forward. You are saying we can hurt them. I am saying we can make them bleed. Whether that is enough to win, I cannot say. But I believe we can make them pay a price they did not expect. The world's leaders made their decision. They would not surrender. They could not surrender. Every nation with nuclear weapons agreed to share them freely. Every military force on Earth would work together. Every factory, every laboratory, every resource would be dedicated to the fight. The President of the United States stood before cameras alongside the leaders of Russia, China, India, and the European Union. It was the first time in history that humanity spoke with one voice. To the beings who have come to our world, the President said, we reject your demands. Earth does not surrender. We did not climb to the top of our food chain by giving up when things got hard. We did not survive ice ages and plagues and world wars by accepting defeat. You want our planet? Come and take it. But know that every inch of ground will cost you. Every human life you take will be paid for in your own blood. We would rather die on our feet than live on our knees. The broadcast ended. Around the world, something strange happened. The panic faded. The fear remained, but it changed into something else. Something harder. Something colder. In cities across the globe, people started preparing. Not to flee, but to fight. Engineers who had designed cars began designing weapons. Chemists who had made medicines started making explosives. Ordinary people with no military training lined up at recruitment centers, determined to do their part. Private space companies offered their rockets. They had been built to launch satellites and carry tourists. Now, they were being modified to carry warheads. It was crude, desperate work. But humans had always been good at desperate work. On farms in Kansas. A National Guard unit led by Staff Sergeant Danny Reyes studied the limited information available about the Cathari. They were big, armored, and deadly. But Danny noticed something interesting in the photos captured from orbit. Look at their joints, he told his soldiers. The armor does not cover them completely. And look at how they move. They are strong, but they are not fast. Not like us, so we can hurt them? Asked Corporal Maria Santos. We can kill them. We just have to be smart about it. Aboard the Cathari command ship. War Master Krelix reviewed the humans' response with contempt. Every primitive species made bold speeches. Every one of them believed they were special. And every one of them broke when the Cathari warriors came for them. Begin the invasion, he ordered. Standard conquest protocols. Secure the major population centers first. Kill any who resist. Enslave the rest, as officers relayed the commands. Dropships detached from the warships and began their descent through Earth's atmosphere. On the ground, humans watched the sky fill with fire as thousands of alien craft came down like falling stars. Parents held their children close. Soldiers checked their weapons one final time. Priests offered final prayers. General Lisa Brennan stood in the command center and watched the radar screens fill with hostile contacts. "All units," she said into her radio, her voice steady, "weapons free. Make them pay for every step." The first dropships touched down outside Los Angeles. The doors opened, and Cathari warriors poured out, plasma rifles raised, ready to crush another primitive species beneath their feet. They had conquered 63 worlds. They had never been defeated. They were about to learn that Earth was different. The Cathari landed everywhere at once. Dropships fell from the sky over every continent, each one carrying hundreds of warriors. They expected the conquest to be quick and easy. They had done this many times before. Primitive species always broke within days. Earth did not break in Los Angeles. The first wave of Cathari warriors marched down Sunset Boulevard, their plasma rifles melting cars and buildings alike. They were met by a wall of fire from police officers, gang members, and ordinary citizens fighting side by side. The humans died by the hundreds, but they kept coming. When their guns ran empty, they threw bottles filled with burning gasoline. When those ran out, they attacked with knives and baseball bats. The Cathari won that first battle. They always won the first battles. But when War Master Krellix reviewed the casualty reports, his mandibles clicked in confusion. They had lost 47 warriors taking a single street. That was more than they usually lost conquering an entire city. "These creatures are insane," reported Field Commander Vresh. "They do not retreat. They do not surrender. They attack our warriors with tools meant for construction and sports." "They will learn," Krellix replied. "Increase the bombardment. Destroy their spirits with fire from the sky." But fire from the sky only made the humans angrier. In New York City, the subway tunnels became death traps for the Cathari. Humans who knew every twist and turn of those dark passages ambushed alien patrols, dragged them into the darkness, and vanished before reinforcements could arrive. The Cathari were bigger and stronger, but in the tight tunnels, their size became a weakness. In the jungles of Vietnam and the mountains of Afghanistan, local fighters proved that the skills of their ancestors had not been forgotten. These lands had broken empires before. They would break the Cathari too. But it was in Kansas that the humans truly showed what they were capable of. Staff Sergeant Danny Reyes had positioned his unit in the wheat fields outside Junction City. 200 Cathari warriors were advancing toward a strategic railroad junction. Danny had only 30 soldiers. "Hold your fire until I give the word," Danny whispered into his radio. The wheat was tall enough to hide a crouching person. The Cathari did not seem to understand the concept of camouflage. They marched in the open, confident in their superior armor and weapons. Danny had studied every piece of information about the enemy. He knew their armor was weak at the joints. He knew they communicated through a mental link that could be disrupted by explosions. He knew they had never fought a species that hunted like humans did. The Cathari column reached the center of the field. Danny pressed the detonator. Explosions tore through the alien formation. The charges had been buried days ago, when humans first realized invasion was coming. The blast killed 30 Cathari instantly, and wounded dozens more, before the survivors could react. Danny's soldiers opened fire. 50 caliber machine guns targeted the joints in the alien armor. Anti-tank rockets screamed toward the surviving vehicles. Grenades rained down from positions the Cathari had not even detected. The battle lasted 12 minutes. When it ended, Danny had lost 8 soldiers. The Cathari had lost their entire column. Similar stories played out across the world. In Russia, the brutal winter proved just as deadly to the Cathari as it had to Napoleon and Hitler. Their metabolism could not handle the cold. Human soldiers, wrapped in layers of fur and burning with hatred, drove them back through the frozen forests. In China, millions of soldiers fought a grinding defensive war that turned every city into a fortress. The Cathari took ground, but they paid for it in blood. For every human they killed, they lost warriors they could not easily replace. In Africa, tribal warriors who had hunted lions with spears taught themselves to hunt Cathari the same way. They moved through the savannah like ghosts, striking and vanishing, never giving the enemy a clear target. The Cathari had expected the humans to break. Instead, the humans adapted. Within weeks, They had learned the weaknesses in alien technology. Within months, it started building weapons specifically designed to kill Cathari. Dr. Samuel Grant led a team of scientists studying captured enemy equipment. They worked 20 hours a day, surviving on coffee and determination. They reverse-engineered plasma rifles and figured out how to overload the power cells. They studied alien armor and developed ammunition that could pierce it. They analyzed the Cathari mental link and created devices that could jam it in orbit. The space battle was equally fierce. The combined nuclear arsenals of Earth had been launched in coordinated waves. The first wave was intercepted by Cathari shields. The second wave came from different angles, using the moon's gravity to curve around defenses. The third, fourth, and fifth waves hit while the shields were still recharging. Commander Nathan Cole, now leading Earth's makeshift space fleet from a modified shuttle, watched as 17 Cathari warships exploded. 43 more were damaged badly enough to affect their fighting ability. "We hurt them," he reported to General Brennan. "We actually hurt them. It was not victory." The Cathari still had hundreds of ships. They still had millions of Wario RS on the ground. But for the first time in 5,000 years, someone had made them bleed. War Master Krellix demanded answers. His advisors had none. The humans should have surrendered by now. Every other species did. But these creatures kept fighting, kept dying, kept coming back. They fought even when victory was impossible. They attacked even when outnumbered 10-1. "What is wrong with them?" Krellix demanded. "Do they not understand they cannot win?" His senior advisor studied the battlefield reports. "I do not think they care about winning, War Master. They care about hurting us. They would rather die fighting than live as our slaves." "Then we will grant their wish. Prepare the fleet for orbital bombardment. We will burn their cities until nothing remains." But before Krellix could give the final order, his communications officer interrupted. "War Master, we are receiving a transmission from beyond this system. It uses Galactic Council protocols. The Council is watching us." "Yes, War Master. And they are broadcasting the battle to every inhabited system in the galaxy. Across the stars, billions of beings watch the footage in disbelief. The Cathari, the undefeated, the unstoppable, were fighting for their lives against a species no one had ever heard of. Species that had lived in terror of the Dominion for thousands of years saw something they had never seen before. They saw the Cathari, afraid, and in the great crystal chambers of the Galactic Council. High Arbiter Velcros allowed himself a small smile. He had told them the humans were different. Now the entire galaxy was learning just how different they were. The war for Earth was far from over. But something had changed. Something fundamental. The myth of Cathari invincibility had been shattered. Myths once broken can never be fully restored. The footage spread through the galactic networks faster than anything in recorded history. On 1,000 worlds, beings of every shape and size watched the impossible happening. The Cathari, the terror of the galaxy, were struggling against a species that had not even achieved. Faster than light travel, in the crystal chambers of Station Primora, the Galactic Council held an emergency session. Every seat was filled. Representatives from species that rarely involved themselves in galactic politics had traveled for days to witness this moment. "This cannot be real," said Ambassador Theorine of the Valori Republic. Her blue skin flickered rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation. "The Cathari have conquered species far more advanced than these humans. How are they resisting?" Counselor Dremok of the Synthesis Collective had been studying the combat footage with growing fascination. His mechanical brain processed data at incredible speeds, and what he was seeing did not match any of his models. "I believe I understand," Dremok said slowly. "The humans are not winning because of technology. They are winning because of psychology." "Explain," demanded High Arbiter Velcros. "Every species the Cathari have conquered eventually realized that resistance was pointless. They calculated the odds, understood they could not win, and surrendered to save what lives they could. It is the logical response." It paused. "The humans appear to be incapable of making that calculation." "That is irrational," Threen protested. "Magnificently so. Watch this footage from their eastern continent." A holographic image appeared showing a human city under heavy attack. Buildings burned. Cathari warriors advanced through the streets, cutting down defenders with plasma fire. The battle seemed almost over. Then a small human emerged from a destroyed vehicle. She was young, with dark hair covered in dust and blood. Her uniform identified her as a soldier, but she had lost her weapon. She should have run. She should have hidden. She should have surrendered. Instead, she picked up a broken metal pipe and charged directly at a Cathari warrior 3 times her size. The warrior killed her. Of course it did. But in the seconds it took to deal with her attack, other humans had rallied. They came from every direction, some with weapons, some with nothing but their bare hands. They swarmed to the Cathari position. Many of them died. But they did not stop coming until every alien in that square was dead. They call this behavior many things in their languages, Dremok explained. Courage, defiance, spite, but the concept is universal among them. They would rather die fighting than live in submission, and they seem to genuinely believe that victory is always possible, no matter how bad the odds. High Arbiter Velcros had been silent throughout the presentation. Now he spoke, and the chamber fell quiet. I have studied this species for many years. I have watched their history unfold. They are not like us. They evolved on a world that tried to kill them every single day. They survived by refusing to give up, no matter what. That is who they are. It is written into their very biology. But what does this mean for the galaxy? Theorine asked. It means the Cathari have made a terrible mistake. They assumed that because humans were technologically primitive, they would be easy prey. But technology is not what makes a species dangerous. Velcros paused. Will is what makes a species dangerous. And the humans have will in abundance. The council erupted in debate. Some argued that they should intervene to help Earth. Others insisted it would be foolish to anger the Cathari over a species that might still lose. Still others worried about what might happen if humanity won. Would they be grateful allies? Or would they become the next great threat to galactic peace? While the politicians argued, something remarkable was happening far from their chambers. The Valori Republic had suffered under Cathari aggression for centuries. Their border worlds lived in constant fear of raids. Their military had been humiliated again and again. But now, watching the humans fight, something stirred in the hearts of the Valori people. Ambassador Theorine received messages from her homeworld. Thousands of them, all saying the same thing. We want to help the humans, the Synthesis Collective. A civilization of beings who had merged organic and mechanical life reached a similar conclusion. The humans represented something unique in the galaxy. They were worth preserving, worth studying, worth protecting, and in the depths of space, another species was watching. The Threk hegemony had been conquered by the Cathari 300 years ago. They had been forced to serve as slave soldiers in Dominion armies, but they had never forgotten who they were. They had never stopped hating their masters. In secret shipyards hidden in asteroid belts, the Threk had been building ships, weapons, soldiers, waiting for the moment when they could strike back. Watching the humans fight, they realized that moment had finally come. On Earth. General Lisa Brennan received an unexpected message. It came through the same frequencies the Cathari had used, but the voice was different, softer, almost musical. Humans of Earth, the voice said, we have seen your courage. We have seen your refusal to submit. We are the Valori Republic, and we wish to offer you alliance. Other messages followed. The Synthesis Collective, the Threk hegemony. 3 civilizations, each with their own reasons, each reaching out to help humanity survive. General Brennan stood before the cameras once more. This time her face showed something other than grim determination. She was smiling. To the Galactic Council and everyone watching, she said, Earth accepts your offers of alliance. We are honored to fight alongside you. Together, we will show the Cathari that their time of conquest is over. She paused and her smile grew colder. To the Cathari Dominion, you came to our world thinking you would find easy prey. You were wrong. Now you face not just humanity, but everyone you have bullied and threatened and enslaved for 5,000 years. You wanted a war? You have one, and we intend to finish it. War Master Krellix received the news of the alien alliances with growing alarm. He had sent word to the Kethari homeworld, requesting reinforcements. A second fleet was coming, larger than the first, but it would take time to arrive, time the humans were using well. Every day, they learned more about alien technology. Every day, they grew stronger. And now they had allies bringing ships and weapons, and knowledge that could tip the balance even further. For the first time in his long career, War Master Krellix felt something he had never experienced before: doubt in the council chambers. High Arbiter Velcros watched the galaxy realign itself around a species that had been unknown a few months ago. He understood now that nothing would ever be the same. The humans had done more than survive. They had inspired others to fight back. Whatever happened next, the age of Kethari dominance was ending. A new era was beginning, and humanity was at the center of it all. The Kethari reinforcement fleet emerged from hyperspace expecting to find a broken world ready for harvest. They found something very different. Earth was no longer alone. 3 alien fleets had answered humanity's call for alliance. The Valori Republic had sent their elegant crystal ships, designed for speed and precision. The Synthesis Collective had contributed biomechanical vessels that seemed almost alive, and the Threk hegemony, finally rising against their former masters, arrived with every warship they had secretly built over 3 centuries of enslaved hatred. The combined fleet was still smaller than the Kethari Armada, but numbers had never been humanity's greatest weapon. Major Danny Reyes stood on the bridge of the Endeavor, the first human warship built with alien technology. His crew was a mix of humans and aliens working together in ways that would have seemed impossible just months ago. Velari navigators shared consoles with human pilots. Synthesis engineers worked alongside Earth scientists to keep the unfamiliar systems running. "All ships report ready," announced Lieutenant Maria Santos from the tactical station. "Kethari fleet will be in weapons range in 4 minutes." Admiral Nathan Cole commanded the overall Allied fleet from his flagship, the Phoenix. He had come a long way from the coffee-drinking astronaut who had witnessed the first invasion. Now he led the most diverse military force in galactic history. "All ships, this is Admiral Cole," he said through the fleet-wide communication channel. "We have bled for this world. We have lost friends and family. Today, we take the fight to the enemy. Remember why we are here. Remember what we are fighting for? And remember that these creatures have never lost a war. Let us teach them how losing feels." The battle for the Sol system was unlike anything the galaxy had ever witnessed. Human tactics, developed through months of brutal ground combat, were adapted for space warfare. Nuclear mines drifted in the darkness between planets. Suicide drones piloted by volunteer crews dove into Kethari formations. Captured alien technology was turned against its creators. The Kethari fought with all their ancient skill and fury. They had conquered the stars for 5,000 years. They would not lose to upstart primitives and rebellious slaves. War Master Krellix directed his forces with cold precision, trying to break through the Allied lines to reach Earth. But something unexpected was happening within the Kethari fleet itself. During the ground war, humans had captured many Kethari prisoners. Unlike other species they had fought, the humans had not tortured or enslaved their captives. They had given them medical care, fed them proper food, treated them with dignity. Eventually, they had released them. Those released warriors had returned to their ships with strange stories. Stories of enemies who helped the wounded. Stories of beings who showed mercy when they had no reason to. The stories spread through the Kethari mental link, quietly at first, then louder. The Kethari were a hive mind species, but they were still individuals capable of independent thought. For thousands of years, that individuality had been suppressed in service of conquest. But the human example had planted seeds of doubt. When War Master Krellix ordered the final assault on Earth, 17 Kethari warships refused to comply. It was not many. It was not even a significant portion of the fleet. But it had never happened before. Never in 5,000 years had any Cathari defied an order in battle. The confusion rippled through the mental link. Disrupting coordination at the worst possible moment, the Allied forces exploited the opening immediately. Vellery ships sliced through the confused enemy formation. Human vessels, carrying weapons designed specifically to counter Cathari defenses, tore holes in the invasion fleet. Threk warriors burning with 3 centuries of hatred showed no mercy to their former masters. The battle lasted 18 hours. When it ended, the Cathari reinforcement fleet was in full retreat. 200 of their ships had been destroyed. 300 more were too damaged to continue fighting. The survivors fled toward deep space. Pursued by Allied vessels that had learned to hunt like humans did. On the surface of Earth, news of the victory spread quickly. In cities that had been bombed to rubble, survivors emerged to celebrate. Soldiers who had fought for months allowed themselves to feel hope. Children who had been born into war looked up at a sky that was finally clear of enemy ships. General Lisa Brennan dressed the world in the watching galaxy. She stood in a command center that had been rebuilt 3 times during the fighting. Flags from every nation on Earth hung behind her. To our allies, she said, "Thank you. You took a chance on us when no one else would. We will never forget that. To the species still living in fear of the Cathari, join us. Together we can end their reign of terror forever." She paused, and her expression hardened. "To the Cathari Dominion, you came to our world uninvited. You killed our people. You burned our cities. We have not forgotten, and we will not forgive. The war is not over. One day, we will come to your worlds. And when we do, you will learn what happens when you threaten the children of Earth." In the crystal chambers of Station Primara, the Galactic Council began the complicated process of integrating humanity into the existing order. It would not be easy. Humans were stubborn, aggressive, and seemed unable to follow rules they had not agreed to, but they had done what no one else could. They had broken the Cathari. The greatest threat to galactic peace in 5,000 years had been stopped by a species that had barely reached the stars. High Arbiter Velcros watched the celebrations on Earth through his observation screens. He felt something he had not experienced in centuries. Hope. Real hope for the future of all species. "What happens now?" asked Ambassador Thrin, who had become one of humanity's strongest supporters in the Council. "Now, the galaxy changes," Velcros replied. "The humans will grow stronger. They will learn and adapt and expand. In a generation, they will be our equals. In 2, they may surpass us all. Is that not dangerous? Perhaps, but I have seen how they treat their enemies. They show mercy when they do not have to. They lift up those who have been beaten down. They form friendships with species completely unlike themselves." Velcros turned to face her. "If we must have a new great power in the galaxy, I can think of worse choices." Years later, historians would debate exactly how humanity had won the war. They would study tactics and technology and alliances. They would write countless books about the battles and the heroes who fought them. But the simplest explanation came from Major Danny Reyes. In an interview given when he was an old man surrounded by grandchildren who had never known a galaxy where humanity was not a major power, "They thought we were easy prey," he said, a slight smile on his weathered face. "They thought we would break because every other species did. But they did not understand what we are. Humans are not the smartest or the strongest or the most advanced. We are just the most stubborn. We simply do not know how to quit." He looked out the window at a sky filled with ships from 100 different worlds, all trading and traveling and living in peace. They should have done their research before invading Earth. Every predator that ever hunted us is extinct now. Every disease that tried to kill us, we cured. Every challenge we faced, we overcame. Not because we were special, but because we refused to give up. The old soldier laughed softly. The Cathari thought they were the apex predators of the galaxy. They were wrong. They just had not met us yet, across the stars. Species that had once lived in fear now looked toward Earth with something they had almost forgotten how to feel: hope and the humans. Those strange, stubborn creatures from a death world in an unremarkable corner of the galaxy, stood ready to face whatever came next, together.